Hello everybody. So I wasn't gonna do another MSTR video, but everything's bouncing hard overnight. MSTR bounced back quite a bit yesterday, so here we go. I have to talk about MSTR again. But remember, my channel is about more than just MSTR. I'm about beating the denominator. I'm about exceeding debasement, exceeding currency debasement. It just happens that MSTR, in my view, is one of the hottest stocks right now. I like this stock very much, and it is bouncing back. And frankly, we're really happy about that. We've had 4 months of despair. We finally get some breathing room in the stock. Yesterday, we're up 4%. The IBIT Bitcoin ETF was actually slightly down, -1% yesterday. So that was not yesterday. That was 2 days ago, by the way, not yesterday. That was Monday. Monday, we greatly outperformed. So our MNAV rebounded to 105. And yesterday, Tuesday, January 13, we outperformed even further. We continued. Bitcoin bounced back by 3%, but actually strategy bounced back by 6.6%. But if you look at after hours, you had another 2.5%. So 8 or 9%? 9% outperformance in strategy yesterday. So yeah, that's why I'm making a video. We rejoice. MNAV overnight is also bouncing back by about 5% at 1.06. When we see these violent moves, because this is a violent move to the upside. Monday, 3.6%. Yesterday, 6.6%. Overnight, 2.5%. So this is a major move to the upside. When we get these major moves, I hope these moves bring to life phrases like, don't get shaken out. Don't get shaken out. And when we look at the chart, the low for strategy was reached on December 31st. That was tax loss harvesting, tax loss selling. People sold at the bottom to get their tax loss benefit, right? And since we're up 14%, actually closer to 15% if you look at after our moves, this is a proper rebound. This is something to celebrate. And of course, this rebound happened. We owe this rebound to the intractable Bitcoin. Bitcoin is at 95,000. What is going on? Well, we don't know, but it has decided to break 95,000. And of course, you'll have the X account to tell you, I predicted it, this was going to happen, just like everybody predicted that we were going to be at 150 way before year-end 2025, right? So what happened next? Bitcoin is at 95,000. We'll go to 98K next. We'll go to 100K next, or will it go down? I will say to that, be humble. We got no idea short-term where this is going. We have no idea short-term where this is going. I can tell you, technical analysis, like I said, showed its inability to work on Bitcoin. I'm not arguing it works or doesn't work on some assets, but on Bitcoin, it's not working in my view. And it showed that in a major way in year-end 2025. And I think a lot of people got out of hand making crazy calls in 2025 and burnt a lot of retail investors who will not come back. So let me tell you on this channel, I have no idea where Bitcoin is headed over the next few months. I have no idea. All I know is that in the 2030s, if the Bitcoin thesis plays out, if Bitcoin becomes a store of value, hard money comparable to gold, Bitcoin will be much, 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 much higher, maybe between 500 and a million, right? Roughly. I have no idea when this happens. Does it happen in 2031? Or does it happen in 2029? Or does it happen in 2033? I have no idea. Either way, if you input that in any Kager calculator, it's way, way more than the NASDAQ. And which company owns the most Bitcoin? Well, it is strategy. So short run, no idea where this is going. I'll continue with this. Of course, the chatter of the town today is what's going to happen with the tariff, with the Supreme Court tariff. Now, a lot of people are saying they're going to rule the tariffs illegal. Okay, so if they rule the tariffs illegal, but there's only 3 million betting on this. Some platforms have more bets, but we don't know where the Supreme Court is going to go. But here's the thing. Regardless of wherever the Supreme Court goes, is this going to be a case of bad news is good news? Or if it goes favorably, is it going to be good news is bad news? We have no idea how the market's going to react. Remember November. In November, we had a bunch of good news. No more tariffs on China, right? Trump had spooked the market in October with surprise tariff. They came to an agreement. No more shutdown. bunch of good things happen in November, the market dump. So if there's good news, we have no idea short term how the market will react. The market is manic depressive and it's getting worse and worse. In 2025 and to the 2020s have been tough to navigate. It's been tough to realize how the market will react to news. Sometimes you could have a bad news objectively and the market goes up because the market's nuts. And so we have to realize that long term is the only way. Long term, the stock market is a weighing machine, but by long term, we really mean at the very least 4 years, especially for Bitcoin. So let's talk about Stretch. Stretch's iPhone moment continues. Now, we have 5 full days where Stretch clearly didn't want to go to 100. For 5 full days, Stretch clearly did not want to go to 100. If you look at the blue line I put here, that's 100. Saylor must be ATMing like man, and we know he did, right? Last week he was doing about 30 million a day of ATM. My guess is this is going to go up much more, perhaps $50 million a day pretty soon in order to keep that ATM down. I want to call your attention to this new website, stretch.live. So people tell me sometimes I talk too much about strategy. Keep in mind, like I take a very, high level view of strategy, and I don't do like very, very specific analysis. You have people who are even crazier about strategy and who love it way more than me, like the founder of stretch.live, who only focuses on Stretch. This company has a lot to offer to the financial analyst, to the person who loves stock and loves disruption. It has a lot to offer. There's a whole website just on Stretch. You have a whole website just on Stretch now, right? And it's talking about the volume, 4.5 million, nearing 4.5 million volume. Yesterday, what's the volume? And think about that. 4.5 million shares traded, $100 a share. This is a very active preferred. Is this going to keep going up? The more this goes up, the more he's able to ATM. This is the iPhone moment for strategy, and also keep that in mind. We're now relentlessly above 100. You can see in after hours 100.04. He has a hard time keeping it at 100. So what does that mean? That means that at some point he's going to run out of permanent capital to back Stretch. I mean, not right now. We still have a lot of permanent capital. But fast forward a few months from now, if this boom keeps going, if we go into a rally, in 3 or 4 months, he may run out of capital to back Stretch. What is he going to do if that happens? If that happens, it's going to lower the yield. You lower the yield and you push people to sell their shares or to not buy anymore. You lower the yield. That's the magic of this instrument, but that's also why Saylor has said multiple times he doesn't think he can get it below 2 to 3% volatility. If we want to get below 2 to 3% volatility, and if you want to get to 2 to 0 volatility, there will need to be a partnership with a bank with some sort of a cash cushion provided by the bank. He thinks volatility on this is going to be 2 to 3%. I've heard him say that in podcast. I think that too, because if the demand keeps being so high, at some point he's going to have to drop the yield, because it's a nuanced balance between permanent capital backing the preferreds, and you need to have much more permanent capital per preferred. At the very least 3x. The BTC rating should be across all of the preferreds, in my view, at the very least 3x, right? So if you have 10 billion of preferreds outstanding, you should have 30 billion of permanent capital. So still a bit of a runway, but we don't know how much demand there's going to be with this. As I've said, within a year, after 1 year, like in 12 months' time, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 1 billion a week of Stretch. That's how successful this product is going to be, in my view. So anyways, that's the Stretch moment. Stretch.live, feel free to check it out. It seems pretty good. And I'll conclude with this. Are the DATs rebounding next? Or they've already begun rebounding. If you look at DFDV, we're up something like 80% from the lows. If you look at Solana itself, we're up 20% from the lows. If you look at forward industries, we're up 40% from the lows. Of course, it seems like Solana, just like Bitcoin, it seems like these protocols are not trading based on their fundamentals. They're trading based on sentiment. Bitcoin's going back up, so Solana's going back up, and Solana, of course, is highly correlated to Bitcoin. It's got a higher beta, and so it's going back up much, much more. So if MSTR rebounds, in my view, the DATs will also rebound. But I will, I kind of think the latest What Bitcoin Did podcast is kind of like the peak FUD, or like the end of peak FUD. And we had a Saylor with a very fighting tone, I will say. I really, gets heated. The Bitcoin Treasury debate gets heated. Yeah, that's a good title for this podcast. I won't judge the tone of Saylor in this podcast, but I'll judge the content. I kind of agree with Saylor. And keep in mind, there's things I disagreed with Saylor with. Like, for example, stopping the ATM in August, I was very much against it. I wanted it to keep going through the ATM 2.5 times MNAV to ATM. That was crazy. Like, I was very much against it. I didn't like that, right? So sometimes I disagree with him. Don't think I don't disagree with him. This time I agree. And of course, the idea is that, a lot of these DATs, lost a lot of shareholders' money. Well, and I agree with Saylor. CEOs don't control the price of their stock. A CEO does not control the price of their stock. I've been saying this for so long on this channel. This is not that specific. Think about all of the SPACs. Think about HIMS. I cover HIMS a lot on this channel. HIMS was trading at $3 and change at some point. At some point, you were a new company. You did a SPAC. You were SPACed at $10. And regardless, you were going to be trading between $1 and $3. And it didn't matter how good the CEO was. CEOs don't control their stock price. The main difference is that DATs decided to raise capital. I'm going to simplify it and say issue shares. They decided to raise capital to invest in Bitcoin or to invest in Solana, which are protocols which, have been growing well in excess of 50% ARR in the case of Bitcoin, right? These are highly disruptive protocols that are growing very, very, very fast, likely much faster than a local coffee shop or a local deli or, Blockbuster or, I don't know, whatever physical business people like. These protocols grow very fast. And so, yeah, CEOs don't control their stock price. The MetaPlanet leadership, they don't control the stock price. They're probably just as upset as anybody. But just decided to invest in Bitcoin. So it's important, in my view, to look at Bitcoin and to look at Solana as a business opportunity. That's the business opportunity. Would you rather see the company you invest in, the new issue, the new share, would you rather see it double down on a foolish business, like a physical business with commercial stores? We're going to double our number of stores. We're Starbucks. We're going to open new stores. We're going to hire a bunch of people because we are Starbucks and we are going to compete against Dutch Brothers and we Starbucks are going to win. We are Nike. We're going to invest in a new athlete and we're going to invest $200 million in an athlete to get people to buy our shoes because our shoes are the best, right? Would you rather see these companies issue shares, get cash, and invest in marketing and invest in an acquisition? Or would you rather see them invest in Bitcoin? That's the point of Saylor. I entirely agree. Just Bitcoin in a bad company, the bad company is a little less bad. Bitcoin in a good company, the good company becomes even greater, right? And I'll point this out. Tesla, I follow Tesla on the channel. Tesla is a big Bitcoin bag. Some people, when they analyze Tesla, they go out 10 years out and they're like, okay, well, this is going to be the value of a Tesla Bitcoin bag 10 years out. And guess what? The Tesla Bitcoin bag 10 years out could be a huge sum of cash, because if Bitcoin grows like it should grow, in my view, that could be one of the wisest acquisitions you can make as a business. Acquiring Bitcoin, acquiring Solana may be one of the wisest decisions a business can make. And so if you can make abstraction of the tone of Saylor, because Saylor must be so frustrated with the FUD, I can be in his shoes here. If you make abstraction of the tone, yeah, Bitcoin is a business opportunity. It is like buying a business growing at 30% revenue every year for the next 21 years. In a bear case, in a bear scenario. So anyways, I tend to agree with Saylor. I'm not judging the tone, but I tend to agree with him. What about all the companies that invest in coffee shops or invest in, the henf hiring spree where you hire overpaid people who, spend more time making TikTok videos than they actually spend walking and showing up at the office. Anyways, that's my view. So it's easy to criticize a CEO for the stock price, but the CEOs do not control the stock price. And this is so true, especially in the 2020s. So the rebound, is it here? Maybe. I have no idea. Short term, I make no predictions. If it's here, I'm happy. I'll be celebrating with you. But MSTR is clearly rebounding, and I'm happy to see that. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I hope you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.